All right, welcome everybody to the ICBC Road Test full guide updated for 2025. My name is Farhan with DriveSafeBC Driving School. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so the purpose behind this video is to just provide like a guideline of how the road test is going to go, and just provide some value to aspiring drivers out there for the ones that are going to do their road test soon. I still remember when I was in business school a couple years back, and our professor would give us kind of just a guideline of how the upcoming exam would go. And although we had a lot of the material, the study material available, a guideline was always appreciated. So I hope this serves you, in the same way. And all the best to your upcoming road test. And if you have any questions or concerns, just you can call or text me at this number, or you can leave a comment down below, and I'll respond to them personally. So. Yeah, let's get right into it. Tip number one, book your road test online. There's three ways to book. So you can go on this link for the online booking. You can do a standby road test. Standby road test is kind of like walking into a medical clinic, just a walk-in medical clinic without an appointment prior. These are initiated by other people who have canceled their appointment or didn't show up. And how this works is you typically go to the ICBC center really early in the morning, and you put your name in the slots. They shake it up. They pick out like five or six lucky people, and if you're lucky that day, you get to go for the test. Um, me personally, I've had good luck with my students on Monday to Friday. Saturday, not so much. If we click this link, standby road test available. So if you have a flexible schedule, this is good for you. These are the locations that allow it. So I highly recommend, this is something of interest, just read through this material here, and this should give you more details of the standby. The other way is look for cancellations after 12 midnight. So not too long ago, I had a student. He texted me at 3 a.m. in the morning, and he said, "Farhan, I got an appointment." And I was awake, so I was texting him, and I said, "Oh, so what time?" And he said, "Tomorrow." I said, "Oh wow, that's pretty quick. You got it for tomorrow." So just the day after, he got it. He got an appointment and passed. So you can get real lucky with these cancellations. So the ICBC scheduling system, it resets after 12 midnight, and you can get really lucky with this. This is my personal suggestion. So most likely, if you book online, right, the earliest available date these days would be months out. So if you're in a rush, I know some people have jobs that require a driver's license and they're in a rush. I would suggest still secure that spot that's 6 months out and reschedule when you find a cancellation. So secure your spot and reschedule. That's what I would recommend. Tip number two, bring two pieces of ID plus money for the ICBC road test fee. So if we click on this link, let me just clear this out for us. We have the accepted primary ID you can go through, and then the accepted secondary ID. And then for the fees, it's not too expensive. So they accept Visa, MasterCard, Amex, so on and so forth. Yeah, I believe you're going to have to pay for the driver's license fee if you pass, and then for the road test fee, this is the road test fee. Yeah, so if you pass, you pay the driver's license fee. If you don't, you just pay the road test fee. Something like that. Tip number three, arrive 15 to 20 minutes early. So I always recommend, just familiarize and get yourself comfortable with the environment. If you need to take a bio break, do it before your test. Drink some water. Just get in the zone, mentally prepare yourself, and make sure your phone is fully turned off and put on airplane mode. Turned off or airplane mode, either or. You don't want your cell phone to be bugging you while you're on your road test. Okay, so tip number four, park in the road test parking stall. So in ICBC, there's a designated parking area. If it's allowed, it's better to reverse park, just so that you're starting off strong. And if it's angled like this, there's an ICBC in Surrey that has angled parking stalls for the designated area to park. So forward park in the angled parking stalls. Tip number five, bring an insured and functional vehicle to the road test. So this is a bit of a checklist that I created. So make sure the car is insured first and foremost. Left turn and right turn signals work. Windows can roll down. The horn function on the steering wheel works. All the lights are functional. So the headlights, the brake lights, that's the light at the back. That's all working. You want to make sure, so this is your windshield, the front window. Make sure that there's no cracks on it, and it's not excessively dirty. Your parking brake, your emergency brake works. So that's like the lever on the side that you pull up, or sometimes it's like a button depending on the car, or sometimes it's like a pedal you push down. Sometimes it's automatic. Just make sure it works. You want to make sure the seat belts are good, the seat belts are functional, the tires are safe for road use, all the doors open. If you're in a gas-powered, diesel-powered vehicle, make sure there's enough, fuel in there. If it's a Tesla or electric vehicle, make sure there's enough charge. Tip number 6. So before you get on the road, the examiner will say, if I don't, let's say something along these lines, right? If I don't say anything during the test, continue going straight, and I won't trick you or tell you to do anything illegal. So I want to clarify what this continue going straight means. Sometimes people get confused. So examiner is going to say, let's just say you're driving on a straight road and the road marking says you're only allowed to turn right. The examiner might not tell you to turn right. It's your duty to follow the road marking, right? So examiner might not say anything, but it's your duty to follow the road marking. So you don't want to drive straight into the painted island. So even though the examiner didn't say turn right, but the road marking says turn right, turn right. Okay, so make sure that's clear. Make sure you don't, just because the examiner didn't say turn right, make sure you're following the road markings. So yeah, that's that over there. Tip number 7, it's expected to be nervous. So before the road test, ask your examiners any questions related to the test, right? Anything that you want to clarify. And if you really think about it, at the end of the day, it's just another person sitting beside you, taking notes, and you're just driving around safely and legally. And as long as you make the examiner feel comfortable, and as long as you're driving safely and legally, you're going to pass. And so I say this to my students too, right? The examiner could also be nervous. They're sitting with a new driver. They don't know your skill level. They don't know what sort of crazy maneuver you might do. So, they're putting their life at risk too. So they're also nervous. And at the end of the day, the examiners are also human. They're just human beings like us, right? They woke up in the morning, they brushed their teeth, they had some breakfast, had a coffee, put on clothes, just like we all do, right? So at the end of the day, they're human beings. They're good people, and they're not incentivized to fail you if you drive well. Okay, so that's that over there. Tip number 8, make sure you know your hand signals. So this is left, that's right, that's stop. This is from the Learn to Drive Smart book. So I've attached this document as well for your convenience. Tip number 9, know how to turn on your headlights. So some cars are different than others. I suggest just reading the car manual, do a quick Google search. You want to know how to turn on the fog lights, the low beams, and the high beams. Tip number 10, you want to know how to defog your windows. So most cars, they have just the similar symbols, just different layouts. So yeah, just do a Google search, check your car manual on how to do this. So this one that's straight, like a straight rectangle. This is for the rear. The one that's curved, that's for the front. Tip number 11, anytime you do a backing up maneuver, you want to do a 360 check. So it starts from the left passenger window where you do a shoulder check. You go all around and you end at the back window, the back rear view window, not the rear view mirror. So make sure you do a full circle check, 360 degree check before any backing up maneuver. Tip number 12, don't forget to use your turn signals anytime you turn and change lanes. So turn left, left signal, turn right, right signal. You're going to be assessed on how you properly communicate with the other drivers on the road, and the way you communicate is by signaling. And then make sure you don't forget to cancel your signals after you're done too. So a lot of students don't cancel their signals. So I would recommend follow the sound. So the signals makes a sound, right? It goes tick tick tick, right? It's a ticking noise. So follow the sound. If you don't hear it, that means it's not on. Tip number 13, make sure you scan the intersections before you approach them. So the rule here is left, center, right, center, look ahead, check your rear view mirror. So scan before driving through them, big or small, scan them all. Your examiner, they're going to have a rear view, an eye view mirror over here to be assessing the movement of your eye. So they're going to be making sure that you're scanning the intersections. Tip number 14, according to the ICBC driving guidelines, they want you to be checking your rear view mirror often and before pressing the brake. So every 5 to 8 seconds, you want to be checking your rear view mirror. And once again, they're going to have that eye view mirror to make sure your eyes are moving, right? So make sure your eyes are moving during the test. Tip number 15, know your speed sign. So 50 kilometers in the city unless posted otherwise. If the conditions are good, drive between 45 and 48. Alleyways are 20 kilometers unless posted otherwise. Tip number 16, control your speed. So when the car goes downhill like this red vehicle, typically it just goes faster, right? Because you're going downhill. If uphill, it requires a bit more gas. So make sure you're controlling the car when you're going uphill, downhill. Also, when you're changing lanes, many people lose control when they're changing lanes, right? Their mirror signal shoulder check, they're looking, and somehow they're just putting a lot of pressure on the gas, right? They're looking and they're looking forward and they just lose control of the speed. So be really careful when you're changing lanes. Tip number 17, don't follow too close to the vehicle in front of you. Do not tailgate other drivers. If you're stopped behind a vehicle at a red light, make sure you can see their tires touching the road. Tip number 18, make sure you're accelerating and deaccelerating in a smooth manner. Don't rush, take it easy, be calm, be patient. Your foot should move like water, like a wave, right? Just be really smooth with it. Watch out for school zones. So tip number 19, watch out for school zones, playground zones, and construction zones. So drive accordingly when you're in these areas. School zones are 30 kilometers on school days, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You want to be able to identify where they start and where they end. Same goes for playground. This is just dawn to dusk every day. Construction signs, these are orange signs. Make sure you look out for them and drive accordingly. Tip number 1, so in the road test, you're not going to be asked, explain how to parallel park, explain how to reverse park. It's a skill test, right? But the one question they are going to ask you is, at some point in the test, the examiner will say, list out the hazards, something along the lines of that. And the idea here is to make sure that you are able to identify the dangers that are current, not potential, not dangers that are hypothetical, dangers that are current, that makes sense. So, for example, you can say, if it was raining the night before or a couple hours before, you can say, because of the rain, the road is slippery or the road is wet. That could be a hazard. There is a mother with kids that are going crazy and she can't control them. You don't know if they're just going to cross the street. So make it sound logical. So start from the road, go up. If it's foggy, going up, you can say that the vision is obstructed, something along the lines of that, right? So as long as it sounds logical, there's no really wrong answers, and if it makes sense. Something that doesn't make sense would be like, there's a tree on the bird. I mean, sorry, there's a bird on the tree. Um, a bird on the tree is not really a hazard, right? Or the tree on a bird, that doesn't make sense, right? Bird on the tree on the bird, they both don't make sense. So make sure you don't say that on the road test. Tip number 21, know how to reverse, parallel, pull over, and forward park. Reverse parking is when you back up the car into the stall. Parallel park is starting behind the car, parallel, and then parallel beside and then parking behind them. And then pullover parking is, parking on the side of the road. After you do that, put the car in neutral, and if you're parked downhill, turn the wheel towards the curb. If you're parked uphill, turn the wheel away from the curb. And then you also want to know how to back up the car in a straight line. So make sure you know these maneuvers really well. Tip number 22, you will be asked to open the car door at some point when you're inside the vehicle. So don't just yank the knob and stick your head out. What you want to do is mirror, shoulder check, right? A deep shoulder check, then open the door. That's how you properly open the door. Tip number 23, keep both hands on the steering wheel. The only time that it's an exception is when you're reversing. So you can have one hand at 12 o'clock, one hand on the passenger headrest, and you can look back like that. So that's the only exception. You can have one hand on the wheel. Sorry about that. If you can hear it, it's a motorcycle. Tip number 24, make sure you are driving in the center of your lane. So look ahead in the center of your lane to maintain proper positioning. You can also look in your side view mirrors to see if you're within the lines. And where you look is where you go. So if you're just looking on this side, you're just on and on, just looking at just a beautiful car just driving by, right? eventually your car is just going to move there. So where you look is where you go. Be attentive in your road test, and be attentive when you're, just driving after you pass, right, for safe driving. Tip number 25, make full stops at stop lines and red lights. So don't do a rolling stop. You want to make sure the car does a slight jerk. So I made this video that you guys can watch on how to do this properly. Tip number 26, understand two-way stop signs. So make sure you stop fully before the white line. And then you can drive up slowly to see the cars and then go. So yeah, make sure you know how this works. Make sure you understand the four-way stop sign. So first come, first go. It's also known as all-way. If two vehicles arrive at the same time, the vehicle on the right goes first. Tip number 28, understand the point of no return on a yellow traffic light. Never run a yellow light if you're far away and you can stop safely. Tip number 29, before any turns, check your mirror, signal, and shoulder check. You can use this abbreviation MSS, so mirror, signal, shoulder check. You're turning right, check your mirrors, your rear view, side view, signal, shoulder check. For left, same thing. This principle applies to any turns, whether you're in a residential area, you're on the highway, you're in a parking lot, you're driving in America, you're driving in Mexico, doesn't matter. This principle applies to all turns. Tip number 30, make lane changes when it's safe and legal to do so. So don't change lanes when you're driving through a major intersection. You're not allowed to do that. Avoid changing lanes if you're driving uphill because your vision is blocked. And you want to be able to develop good speed judgment of other drivers. If you want to change lanes, right, and the car behind you is going really, really fast, don't change lanes, obviously, right? And if the car is going really, really slow, that might be a sign to change your lane. So you want to develop some good speed judgment of other drivers. And once again, the MSS principle, it still applies here. Check your mirror, signal, shoulder check, then you change your lane safely. Last but not least, tip number 31, familiarize yourself with the road test route with the driving school. So most experienced driving instructors, an established driving school would be able to show you the most probable road test route. Now, we obviously can't be 100%. We obviously don't know which exact route they're going to take you on, but it would be similar. We had a student that that passed the road test and said, you took me on the route. It wasn't completely the exact route that I went on for the road test, but it was very, very similar. So it's good to be familiar so that there's no surprises that come up on your road test. But yeah, hope these tips serve you guys well. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave them down in the comments below or give me a call, text at this number. Yeah, all the best with your upcoming road tests and happy driving.